Share Kemi Badenoch's view really on it. I do believe that Israel do have a right to allow who they want into their country and try and keep it safe.
A couple of places. Firstly, the border of Israel, and there's a Labour MP called Absalam Mohammed and another one called Yuang Yang, and those are the two Labour MPs there in the mail. Okay.
Did you notice how quickly Narinder Kaur played the race card when those Labour MPs were denied entry to Israel?
Banned and deported. Two women.
Oh, forget that they're women. That's a ridiculous argument. The fact
there was a lot of misogyny and
they got the right.
It's almost like clockwork. A controversy erupts, and immediately it becomes about race rather than actions. In today's video, we examine what really happened when these MPs were deported. The truth behind Israel's decision has nothing to do with skin colour and everything to do with their documented history of anti-Israel propaganda. Something Kaur conveniently ignored. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. When Narinder Kaur launched into her impassioned speech about racial bias, she conveniently glossed over the actual identities and backgrounds of the Labour MPs at the centre of this controversy. Let's be clear about who we're discussing. Absalam Mohammed and Yuang Yang, two sitting Labour MPs who found themselves ejected from Israel and sent packing back to Britain. What Kaur desperately wants us to believe is that their skin colour determined their treatment. The reality, their political history speaks volumes. These MPs didn't suddenly appear on Israel's radar the moment they stepped off the plane. They've established lengthy track records of anti-Israel commentary that would raise red flags for any nation concerned with its security.
Two Labour MPs in question that did get deported are no saints, by the way. They're not exactly people that have Israel's best bet.
Mohammed and Yang haven't merely criticised Israeli policy decisions, which would be entirely within their rights. They've repeatedly aligned themselves with rhetoric that Israel considers deeply hostile to its national interests.
At their heart, and actually have got a history of, pushing anti-Israel propaganda and swaying more towards Hamas.
The Israeli government's decision wasn't made in a vacuum. Consider the context. A sovereign nation facing continuous security threats has established protocols for denying entry to foreign officials who've demonstrated sympathy for organisations actively working against their existence. This isn't about identity politics. It's about national security assessments based on documented behaviour and statements. What specific statements crossed the line? While Kaur conveniently omitted these details, the research indicates these MPs have a history of promoting anti-Israel propaganda and leaning towards Hamas.
And done nothing wrong. Just look at their history, and that's probably give you a reason as to why Israel did not let them in over the weekend and ban and deport.
This isn't merely criticising government policy, it's positioning oneself alongside an organisation formally designated as terrorist by numerous Western governments, including the UK itself. Would Kaur expect the British government to warmly welcome foreign officials who would express support for groups actively plotting against Britain? Israel's border control policies apply regardless of race, religion, or nationality.
Share Kemi Badenoch's view really on it. I do believe that Israel do have a right to allow who they want into their country and try and keep it safe.
White journalists and politicians from various European countries have faced similar restrictions when their histories included statements or actions Israel deemed threatening. The common denominator isn't ethnicity, it's expressed hostility toward the state of Israel. This crucial context vanishes entirely in Kaur's race-focused narrative. The supreme irony in Kaur's position becomes apparent when we consider that these same MPs have reportedly supported boycott movements against Israel. They've advocated for restricting engagement with Israeli institutions and businesses. Yet when Israel restricts engagement with them personally, suddenly it's an outrage, worthy of international condemnation. The double standard is breathtaking. What other relevant information did Kaur strategically omit from her emotional appeal? She neglected to mention Israel's legal obligations to its citizens. Every nation has not just the right, but the responsibility to protect its borders. and citizens from those it reasonably considers security risks.
A couple of places. Firstly, the border of Israel, and there's a Labour MP called Absalam Mohammed and another one called Yuang Yang, and those are the two Labour MPs there in the mail.
Israel's decisions about who enters its territory aren't made lightly or arbitrarily. They follow established security protocols that apply universally. The Israeli authorities provided comprehensive justifications for their decision that had nothing to do with race and everything to do with conduct. As our research confirms, Israel's decision was primarily due to their history of promoting anti-Israel propaganda and leaning towards Hamas. This isn't about denying entry based on identity. It's about responding to specific behaviours and statements that Israel believes compromise its security interests. Perhaps most tellingly, Kaur's immediate pivot to racial explanations reveals more about her default analytical framework than about the situation itself. By reducing complex geopolitical and security considerations to simplistic accusations of racism, she does a disservice to meaningful political discourse. As our source emphasises, Israel has the right as a sovereign nation to control its borders and protect itself.
MPs banned and deported from Israel, and she shares the view that it is an absolute disgrace.
This fundamental principle applies regardless of who is seeking entry. The debate shouldn't centre on the race of these MPs, but rather on whether their past statements and actions created legitimate security concerns for Israel. The evidence suggests they did. When politicians choose to make statements sympathetic to organisations hostile to another nation, they cannot expect that nation to ignore those statements when considering whether to grant them entry. What we're witnessing is a deliberate attempt to reframe a security decision as a racial one, a classic misdirection that seeks to shut down substantive debate about the actual behaviours in question.
And they were trying to get into Israel. Obviously, they are particularly cross about the way that Israel has been behaving in Gaza.
It's far easier to cry racism than to address the uncomfortable reality that these MPs' own words and actions triggered predictable consequences from a nation they've criticised. What's unfolding here isn't just about deportation, it's about the predictable playbook certain commentators follow. Narinder Kaur's immediate pivot to accusations of racism and sexism serves as a convenient shield against confronting uncomfortable truths about these MPs' histories. This tactic doesn't just misrepresent the situation, it actively harms our ability to have meaningful discussions about complex international relations. By reducing multifaceted security decisions to simplistic identity politics, Kaur and others like her strip away nuance and context that citizens deserve. The next time you witness this rhetorical sleight of hand, pause, look beyond the emotional appeals, and examine what substantive points might be deliberately obscured beneath claims of discrimination.